It's the notification everyone dreams of.
The one.
You wake up, that crust in your eyes, and you're just reaching for your phone to turn off the alarm.
Just muscle memory at that point.
Totally. And you see that little banner across the lock screen?
Yeah.
You're expecting, I don't know, a debit alert for some subscription you forgot to cancel.
Or your data is low. Always that one.
Always. But instead, you see a credit alert from First Bank. And it's not your salary.
Yeah.
It is not a gift from some rich uncle you never knew you had. It is 1.5 billion naira.
Which is, what, about 1.1 million US dollars?
Sitting there in your account. Available balance.
Okay, stop right there. I have to. Because before you and everyone listening starts booking first-class flights in their heads, we need to ground this in reality.
Oh, come on.
Just for a second. Because what you're describing, that magical alert, it's not a lottery win. It's not a blessing from the heavens.
It feels like one.
It might feel like one, but it is a crime scene waiting to happen.
You have to admit, though, for at least 5 solid minutes, that is the ultimate God-when moment.
Right.
You're telling me your heart wouldn't just stop. You wouldn't stare at that number and think, this is it, finally.
My heart would stop, yes. But it would be from panic, not excitement. I would be staring at a massive, massive system glitch, not a windfall.
Well, today we are talking about a guy who definitely felt the excitement. This is the story that has absolutely set the internet on fire.
Completely taken over.
Talking about Ojo Eghosa Kingsley, the man who lived that exact fantasy. Between June and November of 2025, a huge technical failure at First Bank Nigeria PLC meant his account was just credited with 1.5 billion naira.
An unbelievable sum of money to just appear out of nowhere.
And the internet says he beat the system. The viral story, and I've seen this everywhere, on Update Zone and the Gislover comments.
Oh, I'm sure.
The story is that he played the ultimate finesse. He spent the cash, he got caught, and when he stood in front of the judge, he supposedly made a trade. 1 year in prison in exchange for keeping the rest of the money.
The infamous prison option.
The prison option.
Which is, and we need to be crystal clear on this, a complete and total myth. And that's why we're here today. We have to dismantle this really dangerous idea that you can just trade time for crime.
So we're doing a deep dive.
Yeah, very deep dive into the legal reality, the forensic trail left behind, and what the judge in the Benin High Court actually said. Because what really happened to Ojo Kingsley, it's not a victory lap.
No.
It's a tragedy of errors. It's a very, very harsh lesson in the administration of Criminal Justice Act.
Okay, you're the buzzkill, I get it. But let's stay in the fantasy for just a little bit longer, because the context here is just, it's wild. We're talking about the Nigerian banking sector.
It is a volatile environment, to put it mildly.
I was reading in our notes that Nigerian financial institutions face something like 4,718 cyber attacks every single week.
That's correct. It's a staggering number. The digital infrastructure is under constant siege. You have hackers, sure, but you also just have glitches. You have reconciliation failures, software bugs, human error.
And in this case, it was one of those.
It was a profound system glitch within their core banking operations. It created something called a suspense account discrepancy, which is basically just funds were floating in the digital ether. They didn't have a home.
And they landed in Kingsley's account.
They landed incorrectly in Kingsley's account.
So boom, 1.5 billion, it lands. Now, here's the question I want to ask you, and I really want everyone listening to think about this one. Do you call the bank or do you call your travel agent?
Legally.
I'm not asking legally. I'm asking what you do.
Legally, you call the bank immediately. You don't touch a single kobo.
You are such a buzzkill.
I am the voice of reason here. Look, under the law, and this is important, money credited to your account by mistake is not yours. It never becomes yours. It remains the property of the bank.
But it's in my account. It has my name on it.
That doesn't matter. It's legally classified as a chose in action.
A chose in what now? Say that again.
A chosen action. CHOSE. It's a legal term. It means it's a right that can only be enforced by taking legal action, not by taking physical possession. Just because the digits are on your screen doesn't mean the title, the ownership of that money has transferred to you.
So it's like if a cashier accidentally gives me an extra $100 bill.
It's exactly like that. If a bank teller hands you a stack of cash by mistake and you know it's a mistake and you walk out with it, that's theft. A digital credit is absolutely no different.
Okay. But Kingsley, well, he did not see it that way.
Clearly not.
He didn't call the bank. He didn't sit there and wait for them to realize their mistake and reverse it. He started swiping. He started moving. And for about 3 months, this guy, he felt like the king of Benin.
And that right there is the moment the clock started ticking. You see, the law makes a very important distinction between what it calls innocent possession and fraudulent conversion.
What's the difference?
So when the money first hit his account, he was in innocent possession. He didn't cause the glitch. He didn't hack the bank. He was just there, a passive recipient.
Right.
But the very second he decided to treat that money as his own, to use it at his will, to move it, to spend it, he crossed the line. He committed a felony, stealing by conversion.
And he didn't just, buy a few burgers or pay off his cable bill.
Not even close.
We need to talk about the spree, because this wasn't just some reckless fun spending. It was, well, he thought it was strategic.
He did. What he was doing is what forensic accountants call fragmentation. He was trying to break the huge sum down into smaller pieces to, in his mind, make it harder to trace.
And this is where the story gets kind of sad, actually.
It gets very sad. Because he didn't just implicate himself, he pulled his family right into the middle of a federal crime.
Yeah, the names are right there in the EFCC report. Itahan Ojo, who is his mother, and Edith Okoro Osareten, his sister.
Exactly. He transferred huge, significant sums directly into their accounts. Now, we don't know what he told them. Maybe he said, hey, I won the lottery, or my crypto investments finally paid off big time.
He probably did.
Probably. But in the eyes of the law, that might not matter. When you receive funds that are illicit and the amount is this staggering, the concept of knowing or having reason to know kicks in.
So even if they didn't know for sure, they should have been suspicious.
A prosecutor would argue they should have been. $1 billion naira doesn't just fall from the sky, and this opens them up to very serious charges of receiving stolen property or even money laundering.
That is just, it's heavy. So by trying to, bless his family, as they say.
He basically painted a giant target on their backs for the EFCC.
Unbelievable. And what was he buying with the rest of it? The reports all mention this flamboyant lifestyle. Cars, parties.
The usual stuff you'd expect, but the big one, the one he sank a huge chunk of it into, was a building project.
See? That's the Nigerian dream right there.
It is.
You get a windfall, you build a house, you turn that liquid cash into hard assets. It's what everyone tells you to do. Don't just blow it on champagne and cars, build a mansion.
And in a criminal investigation, that is called structuring. It's a classic money laundering technique. You're trying to convert illicit, easy-to-trace liquid cash into a physical asset to hide the audit trail, to clean the money.
But it seems like a bad idea.
It's a terrible idea because here's the thing about real estate. It doesn't move. You can't hide it. It's often the very first thing the EFCC seizes.
I guess you can't drive a house across the border when you hear the sirens.
You absolutely cannot. And we should probably get into the specific legal definition here because this is where that whole prison option myth really starts to crumble. We're looking at Section 383 of the Criminal Code.
Okay, Mr. Buzzkill, break it down for us. What does Section 383 say?
It defines stealing by conversion. Most people think stealing means, breaking into a vault or kicking someone's pocket. Physical acts. But the law is much broader. It says if you fraudulently convert anything capable of being stolen to your own use, that is stealing. And subsection 2 is super specific about money. It says if you have an intent to use it at your will, even if you plan to pay it back later, it is still stealing.
Wait, hold on. So even if he had this grand plan, like, I'll just borrow this $100 million for a bit, I'll invest it, make a huge profit, and then pay the bank back their $100 million plus interest, it's still a crime.
It's still a crime, 100%. The intent to repay is not a defense. The crime is complete the moment you treat the bank's property as your own. There's a famous case, Wema Bank v. Osalaru, where the court made it really clear that the money in a bank account actually belongs to the bank, not the customer.
It's so weird to think about.
It is, but the customer just has a debt against the bank. So when Kingsley started spending that $1.5 billion, he was literally converting the bank's property for his own use.
So the EFCC, that's the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission for our listeners overseas. They probably didn't take long to catch on.
Oh, no, they were on it fast. The Benin Zonal Directorate, which was led by a man named Saad Hanafi Saad, was all over this. And this is where that whole system versus the individual reality just slams down.
Right, because you mentioned those 4,718 cyber attacks a week.
Exactly. The banks are bleeding money. They're losing billions. Do you seriously think First Bank was just going to let 1.5 billion Naira slide, write it off as a bad day?
No way. They went full bloodhound mode.
And they have the tools. They use the BVN, the bank verification number. In Nigeria, your BVN links all your accounts, your biometrics, everything. You can't just hide money in your mom's account or your sister's account and think no one will notice.
That's like spider web.
There's a spider web.
Yeah.
And the EFCC can see every single thread. They trace the flow of funds almost immediately.
And the recovery numbers are actually pretty impressive. Before this even got to a final court judgment, the EFCC had already clawed back 802.4 million naira.
Which is a massive chunk, over half. They seized it directly from his accounts, from his family's accounts.
Yeah.
So what he thought was a spending spree was really just a seizure spree in waiting.
Okay, hold on. Because this brings us to the juicy part. The myth.
Ah, yes, the myth.
Because if you go on Twitter or X or whatever it's called this week, the story is very, very different. People are hailing this guy as a hero.
A hero for stealing.
Not for stealing, for, beating the game. The narrative online is this. Kingsley goes to court. He knows he's cooked. He pleads guilty. And the judge says, okay, son, you can go to jail for 1 year or you can pay this fine. And the internet believes he chose jail time.
So he could keep the change.
So he could keep the change. Exactly.
The keep the change theory. I've seen it.
The math on the street is simple. He took 1.5 billion. The EFCC got back, 800 million? The bank reversed some. That leaves that outstanding debt from the final report. 272 million naira. And the rumor is he does his 1 year, eats some bad food, gets bored, whatever, and he comes out in 2027 to a nice little nest egg of 272 million naira waiting for him. That's generational wealth.
It's the ultimate finesse, as they call it.
Yes. And you should see the comments. People are saying it's your sweat. Like, the suffering in prison is the work he put in to earn that money. It's his payment.
It's your sweat. I saw that exact phrase, and it's psychologically fascinating, but as legal advice, it is catastrophic.
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 Stop. We have to be so clear about this. That is not what happened.
So he doesn't get to keep the money.
He absolutely does not get to keep the money. Not one kobo. This myth completely ignores a critical piece of legislation. The Administration of Criminal Justice Act of 2015.
The ACJA.
The ACJA. And under that law, prison is not a transaction. It's a punishment.
Yeah.
It is not a debt forgiveness program. Going to jail does not cancel the civil debt you owe to your victim.
So let's hit them with it. The actual ruling. What really happened in that Benin High Court. Okay, so here are the cold, hard facts from the court record. Ojo Eghosa Kingsley was charged. He pleaded guilty. That's important. He didn't fight it. He knew he was caught red-handed.
Probably a smart move, honestly. Save everyone's time.
Probably. So the judge pronounced the sentence. And yes, there was an option, which is where the confusion started. The sentence was 1 year imprisonment or a fine of 5 million naira.
See? There it is. The option. That's the part everyone's talking about.
But wait, that is just the penal part of the sentence. That's his punishment for breaking the state's law. That's his debt to society.
There's more.
There's more. Here is the massive twist that Twitter and all the blogs completely missed. The judge also ordered the full refund of the outstanding sum, all 272 million naira of it.
Whoa. Wait, say that again. So he went to jail, or he paid the fine, and he still has to pay back the 272 million.
Correct.
So he went to jail for nothing.
Well, not for nothing. He went to jail for committing a crime, but he didn't go to jail to buy the money. Now, the two things are separate.
That has to be the worst trade deal in the history of trade deals.
It is. It's an absolutely terrible deal. Let's just break down the math of the recovery so everyone can see how thorough the system was.
Please do.
1. The EFCC, through its investigation, recovered 802.4 million directly from his and his family's accounts.
Okay.
2. First Bank, on their end, managed to reverse or recall about 300 million worth of transfers that hadn't fully cleared.
Got it.
3. That left the outstanding balance, the change that he supposedly got to keep, of roughly 272 million naira.
And the court said, nope, we want that too.
The court said that belongs to the victim. And under Section 321 of the ACJA 2015, the court has the power, in fact, the duty, to order restitution for the victim. And in this case, the victim is First Bank.
So what happens if he doesn't have it? If he spent it all?
The law is ready for that. It says if he doesn't pay, the court can attach his assets.
Attach his assets. What does that mean? Does that mean the building project?
That is exactly what it means. That building project isn't his retirement fund. It's the bank's collateral now. The cars he bought, collateral. any luxury goods, collateral. They will all be seized, sold at auction, liquidated, and every single Naira will go back to First Bank until that $272 million is paid off.
Look, so the whole clean slate theory is just, it's a total lie.
A complete fantasy.
He comes out of prison or pays his fine, and he is still broke. Actually, he's worse than broke. He's a convict who is massively in debt.
And his family has been dragged through this public mess. And this is a key point, the EFCC has perpetual power to trace assets to satisfy a judgment debt. Let's say in 5 years, Kingsley somehow legally makes some money. Maybe he starts a business. Maybe he wins the actual lottery.
Yeah.
The EFCC can still come knocking. They can garnish his wages. They can seize those new assets until that 272 million Naira debt is paid in full. There is no clean slate. There is no escape.
Man, that really, really kills the vibe of the whole fantasy.
It should. This whole found money fallacy is so dangerous. Psychologically, people see it as a victimless crime. They think, oh, First Bank is a huge corporation. They make billions. They won't miss this.
Or they say insurance will cover it. That's the one I always hear.
Insurance will cover it. But the data shows that's not the case. We looked at the numbers. Access Bank, Fidelity, Wema, they are losing billions and billions to fraud and forgery. In 2023 alone, Access Bank lost over 6 billion Naira.
Wow.
These aren't just numbers on a spreadsheet. These losses impact shareholders, they impact customer fees, they impact the entire economy. So the banks are incredibly aggressive because they're fighting for their own survival. They are not going to just let a 1.5 billion Naira glitch walk away.
It's interesting you say that because I saw a statistic that court claims against banks have surged recently, something like 460%.
That's right. Over 14 trillion Naira in claims. It's a two-way street. The banks are getting sued, and they are suing people. It is a financial war zone out there right now.
And the system glitch is the new battleground.
It absolutely is. As we move closer to a cashless economy, these things will happen. Glitches are inevitable. But how you react to that glitch, that's what determines your future.
So let's bring it back to the person listening,
Yeah.
because it's easy for us to sit here and judge Kingsley. It's easy to say, oh, he was so stupid, he should have known better.
It is.
But 1.5 billion Naira, that's not just life-changing money.
It's dynasty-changing money.
It's generational.
Yeah.
And for 3 months, between June and November, he lived it. He was the guy. He bought the cars. He started the building project. He probably helped out a lot of people.
You stolen money?
I know. But the feeling, the power of that, I just have to ask you honestly, if you woke up tomorrow, that notification is on your phone, and you know everything you know now. You know about the BVN. You know about the EFCC and the ACJA.
Okay.
Do you still hesitate? For even a second, do you maybe transfer just a little bit to an anonymous crypto wallet? Just a tiny bit.
The rational, analytical part of my brain says absolutely not. The notification isn't a gift, it's a test. And in this digital age, you leave fingerprints absolutely everywhere, but the temptation is human, that's why these laws exist, to provide a check on that powerful, immediate impulse. But I will tell you this, if it hits my account tomorrow, I'm calling my lawyer first. Then the bank. In that order.
See, that's why you're the buzzkill. I'm buying the ticket to the Maldives before I call anyone. You can extradite me from my overwater bungalow.
They will catch you, and they will take the ticket back and the bungalow.
Probably.
So I guess the takeaway here is that we really need to stop romanticizing financial crimes. The accidental billionaire isn't a folk hero. He's a cautionary tale.
And check your balances, everybody. If you see an extra billion, don't scream and call your ex to gloat.
Please don't.
Call the bank. Or at the very least, don't spend it on a massive building project with a sign out front that has your name on it.
Please, let's not give people ideas on how to launder money better.
I'm just saying, think smarter.
Just to wrap up on the legal side, I want to make sure we've covered all our bases from the research. We mentioned the difference between the criminal code and the penal code.
Right. Stealing versus theft. Is there a big difference?
In the practical outcome for a case like this, not really. But the criminal code, which is used in the south of Nigeria, where Benin City is, uses the term stealing. The penal code, used in the north, uses theft. The definitions are slightly different, but the core principle of fraudulent conversion is the same. The result is the same. A felony.
And there was that other legal idea, unjust enrichment.
Yes, that's a civil concept, but it runs parallel to the criminal case. You cannot be allowed to profit from a mistake that you know is a mistake. The law of restitution is designed specifically to put the victim First Bank back in the exact same position they were in before the crime happened. That is why he has to pay back every single kobo.
Every last kobo.
Mm.
Wow, well, there you have it. The myth of the prison option is officially busted. You cannot do the time and keep the dime.
Not in 2026. Not with the BVN, not with the ACJ watching. The system is designed to self-correct.
So keep dreaming, everybody. But, maybe keep it legal.
And share this deep dive with that one friend who thinks they could outsmart the EFCC.
Or just someone who owes you money. A little reminder.
Until next time. Wait, actually, before we go, there's one last thing from the source material that I think is really important to touch on.
Oh, one final thought.
Yes, it's about the broader moral of the story. We've talked about Kingsley's duty not to steal and the bank's duty to secure its systems. But there's a bigger conversation here about the cashless policy and the economic situation.
That's true. I remember seeing a World Bank report that mentioned Nigeria's poverty levels. When people are that desperate, a glitch in the system doesn't look like a crime. It looks like a miracle.
It looks like salvation, exactly. And until the underlying economic desperation is addressed, people are going to keep trying to take the prison option, even if it's a complete myth. They will keep rolling the dice, hoping they're the one who gets away with it.
That is a really sobering thought to end on. It puts the whole thing in a different light. It's not always just about greed. Sometimes it's about desperation.
It is a complex mix of both. Okay, now we can really be done.
Check your accounts and report any errors.